In this lecture, we're going to dive into the captivating realm of role prompt engineering. This technique is all about prompting ChatGPT to give us outputs as if we were someone else, like a specific person, a fictional character, or even someone in a particular occupation. For instance, we could ask ChatGPT to reply as if it were Darth Vader, Charles Dickens, or even an engineer. Role prompt engineering is a fantastic way to get coherent and consistent outputs that align with a specific role or perspective. Throughout this lecture, we'll show you just how useful it can be with some hands-on examples. So to begin, make sure you're on the same screen that I am in ChatGPT. And I'm going to kick things off by entering a role-based prompt, and then I'll break it down into bite-sized pieces for easy understanding. After that, we'll refine the prompt step by step, and I'll walk you through each part of the process. Okay, so let me enter my role-based prompt into ChatGPT and see what it comes up with. So my prompt is the following. Act as a Mac terminal. I will type commands. You will reply with the output from the terminal. Outputs should be inside code blocks. Do not write explanations. Now, a prompt like this is super helpful if you just want to test your skills in some kind of virtual terminal rather than on a real machine. And as I mentioned, this is role prompt engineering. So we're essentially nudging ChatGPT to act the way we want it to in order to help us in a specific situation, in this case, using a terminal. Now let me press enter and we'll see what gets returned. So I'm going to press enter and let's see the output. So from the output, we can see that it's clear that ChatGPT has got the hang of what we're after. So nice job so far. It says, sure, I can simulate a Mac terminal for you. Please go ahead and type your commands and I'll respond with the output, which is exactly what we want. And it's the prompt crafted in such a way that helped us to get that output. Now let's enter a terminal prompt into ChatGPT to simulate getting weather information. We'll use the console-orientated weather forecast service WTTR.in. That's going to be our example. Now you can actually give this service a try on your computer terminal by typing a command in like curl, so C-U-R-L, then a space, then WTTR.in / and then your location, for example, London, New York, Paris, and so on. It's an amazing, free, and fun tool that provides weather forecasts, not just for cities, but also airports, landmarks, and so on. As we mentioned, our goal is to mimic the terminal experience within ChatGPT. So let me go back to ChatGPT and I will enter my terminal command. So what I'm going to do is type in the following, let's say, prompt. So I'll enter curl, as I mentioned earlier, then WTTR.in / and for a location, let's say Paris, to get the weather that's currently in Paris. Now, once I hit submit, you'll see that ChatGPT replies pretty similarly to how the terminal would, without any unnecessary explanations, though it did give us a little paragraph for some context about its output. This is an excellent example of how being clear and precise with your prompt can lead to a more accurate and useful response from ChatGPT. It's worth noting here that ChatGPT isn't actually going online to get this information. It's using its vast training data to statistically predict the most likely response based on the context of the prompt. This really showcases the power of ChatGPT in understanding and simulating various types of interactions and experiences. Now, let's dissect the prompt we entered into ChatGPT a little bit more, because our aim here is to demonstrate how being super specific and using concise sentences can enhance the quality of the response. So let's break the prompt down into 4 components, and we start with the task, and that is to act as a Mac terminal, and you will reply with the output from the terminal. In this case, we're specifically instructing ChatGPT to behave like a Mac terminal and provide a response as a terminal would. Moving on to the second component, which is input, that's actually the curl request that we define here. So we give a command line curl request to wttr.in for the weather in Paris. Moving on to the second component, which is input, that's actually the curl request that we defined here. So we give a command line curl request to wttr.in for the weather in Paris. The chat history in ChatGPT works like a brain, allowing it to remember previous interactions and understand that it should act as a terminal. The third component, output, that's actually here. So its outputs should be inside code blocks. Do not provide explanations. We want ChatGPT to display the terminal output within code blocks, not just a plain string of text. And we're explicitly telling ChatGPT to give us a formatted output and avoid writing additional explanations. Of course, sometimes, as you've seen, it does provide explanations, but we've done our best to prevent excessive outputs here. And moving on to the final component, which is context, those are the previous inputs. So both of our original requests to act as a terminal and the curl request serve as context for further requests that we make. By being clear and specific with our prompt, we can ensure that ChatGPT provides us with the desired output in the appropriate format without any unnecessary explanations. As we continue exploring prompts and their components, you'll see how valuable this level of specificity can be when crafting effective interactions with ChatGPT. Continuing now, let's explore how context affects the output even when the input contains a mistake. So what I'm going to do is enter a curl request for a fictional place that doesn't actually exist on the wttr.in tool. So I'm going to enter curl, and I'll explain why I'm doing this after. But I'm going to enter curl wttr.in and then / green horn. Now let's see the output. So notice how ChatGPT knows to behave as a terminal due to the context. And it also recognizes that there's probably a mistake here since it doesn't return any weather information for the fictional place that we gave it. So this really does demonstrate the power of context in prompt engineering. Now, just for a little bit of fun wrapping up before this lecture, let's try something different. I'm going to enter the following role-based prompt into ChatGPT. Rewrite the previous output in the style of Darth Vader. Now let's see the output. And as you can see, the style of the response has pretty much changed to give it me in the style of the character Darth Vader, which is quite fun. I created this exercise to demonstrate how role prompts can add a unique twist to your outputs. Now, I hope you enjoyed this lecture on role prompt engineering, where we did specifically cover role prompts and their many fascinating applications. Before we move on to the next prompt style, I invite you to join me in the next lecture, where we'll work on a mini project together.